Hello, everyone. I'm here with Joana Cotar, who is an independent politician in the German parliament. She used to be part of the AfD, but left. She's going to explain to us why she left, when she left, etc., as part of this podcast interview today. And the reason why I came here is because I'm really interested in what's going on in the Bundestag, which is German parliament, because they're doing this thing called Bitcoin in the Bundestag. How's my pronunciation?
Very good.
Oh, great. Okay. We're going to start here and then get worse and worse. And I'm really grateful to be speaking with Joana today because she is putting her political career, putting a lot of her effort on the line to get Bitcoin spoken about in Parliament and effectively to lobby for this decentralized technology that I presume you're interested in if you're watching this at home. So with that out of the way, Joana, how are you today?
Very good. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here.
Oh, no, it's lovely. I think it's amazing to come into the office because, speaking to your aides and assistants, there is so much Bitcoin stuff in this office. It's crazy. It's like a Bitcoiner's den, you know. There's the little hodler that was next to me, and that was in your.
This is my office.
Yeah,
it's totally cute.
Yeah, it's great. And the idea that a member of parliament would have all this Bitcoin stuff in their office is awesome. But before we get onto there, I want to talk about yourself and growing up because, as I understand it, you were born in Romania under, of course, authoritarian rule. And you came to Germany as a five-year-old. What was that like? And how has that prepared you for where you are today?
Well, growing up or being a child in a Ceausescu regime, you don't realize what's going on, but you have all the stories from your parents. And my father was a political prisoner because he spoke up, couldn't keep quiet, just like me. I have something to say, I say it. And I don't care what happens. And he spent 6 years of his life in prison because of criticizing the government. And sometimes we said, okay, it's enough. We can't do that anymore. And my mother is a German. My father is from Romania. And then we left Romania. First my mother and myself, and then my brother and my father a year later because they weren't allowed to come with us.
No way, because back then they were still...
It was still, maybe they won't come back, but if she has to leave her child behind, she will come back. And we stayed and we did everything possible, my mother, that they can come to Germany as well. And after a year, it's successful. Wow. And of course, that hearing these stories and knowing what it means to lose your freedom, to not be able to speak your mind, to be in prison for speaking your mind, that does something to you when you hear all these stories. And that's why I always fought for total freedom. That's why I went into politics ultimately.
Awesome. Did you really look up to your dad? Did you take inspiration from his fight and his plight in Romania?
Yeah, not shutting up, doing the safe thing, keeping quiet. That's something he didn't do. He had an opinion, he spoke up, and he got punished for that. And he's still here. A lot of people didn't survive this prison. Yeah, it gives strength if you have parents like that.
Yeah, I bet. Does he have Bitcoin?
No, he doesn't have. No. But he's 88 years old now, so...
Right, yeah. I imagine that must be quite a hard person to introduce to any, new technology, let alone, something as...
Yeah, they're interested. I sent my parents the documentary about who's Satoshi Nakamoto from HBO, the documentary.
Yeah.
I said that to them, just look at it. They watched it, so they're pretty interested. I just sort of invested.
And now I think that Satoshi is Peter Todd. Oops. Echo. I that is quite a unique experience to grow up with, and it's something that I see with a lot of Bitcoiners around the world. I was recently in Madeira with a Venezuelan guy who, I won't mention who he is, but he had trouble leaving the country as well. And when he left the country, this was 2017-18, he left the country with just 12 words in his head. And I think that it's what a lot of people in the West don't really understand is, but this tool is available for when you need it. And a lot of people have had that experience, or their parents have had that experience. And so they're sort of more primed. Like, would you agree that you're more primed for Bitcoin?
Absolutely. I think everybody who lived in circumstances like my parents did, under regimes, under terror, under this, they have a different view on what it's like to lose freedom, what it's like to, and they have these alarm clocks which go on when they realize the government is doing something which is leading in a wrong direction. most of the Westerners who didn't have these experiences, you see the difference between the Eastern Germans and the West Germans. East Germans are much more vocal about it. They are loud. They're going in the streets and not again. Yeah, we're not going to shut up again. We had that. Western German is totally different because they didn't have this experience losing the freedom, and they don't know how hard it is to gain it back once you lose it. Now, of course, if you have this and you are confronted with tools to gain freedom, to secure freedom, then you're much more open to them than people who didn't have these experiences.
I mean, I see that where I live in Portugal. There's lots of hammers and sickles, the communist.
Yeah.
And it's because they're too far away from Russia and they're too far away from Cuba. So they still think that communism could be a good idea.
I can't believe that there are still people saying, oh, that wasn't real communism, what we had. With 100 million deaths, not enough, we're going to try it again.
Yeah.
It's
staggering.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a resurgence of some of those really hardcore left-leaning ideas, particularly in European politics now. And it's just fascinating that the history is so, particularly in a place like Berlin. Berlin is a giant history lesson, right?
Yeah.
Yet these ideas somehow still...
We don't learn from history. We always say we have to learn from history, and we never learn.
Yeah. It's fascinating. Okay, so for the purpose of this interview today, I wanted to get to know you a bit more, which is what we're doing already, and then to talk about your sort of Bitcoin journey and your Bitcoin journey in politics, and then where this could all hopefully lead. As I know you came off the stage in Amsterdam last week, and there were some really bullish things that were shared. And before we get there, as I understand it, you were introduced to Bitcoin in 2013. You said, no, not for me. Can you talk me through that?
Yeah, my brother mentioned it because my brother invests in all these tech companies and is very open to these kind of things. And I visited him in Dubai, and he said, well, that is this kind of called Bitcoin. If you have any money left, you don't need, just invest it. Just watch it. Maybe it will be successful. Maybe you will make some money. There is a possibility that you lose everything. Just try it. He did. I didn't, because I was like, yeah, sure. I had no idea what Bitcoin was back then. So I didn't invest it. So it's like, regret it.
I bet. Yeah. I mean, that was 3 figures or 2 figures?
2 figures, I think. Oh, yeah.
Much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I first used Bitcoin as a student on the Silk Road. So, my friends did, not me, rather. And obviously I didn't care about it, didn't know anything about it. It took me a lot more touch points. What were the touch points for you that helped you understand Bitcoin?
It was actually a YouTube video. And I watched a lot of YouTube videos about the Austrian School of Economics. And there was one video, I can't find it anymore. It's really sad. And that connected Bitcoin to this Austrian School of Economics. And that was like the light bulb went on in my head. Because I knew we had a broken money system. I knew that printing money isn't the solution. I didn't have the solution back then. That was one of the reasons because I joined the party I joined. Because it was the discussions about the euro and the money system. And I was like, okay, we have a problem here. But I didn't know what to do about it. And then I heard about what Bitcoin really is. And it didn't take me long to get the idea. I'm not someone who says I get the technical thing behind it. No way. I mean, mining and something like that, it's fascinating. But if you come with mathematical formulas like that, for how do you say it, mathematical
equations?
Yeah, so I'm out. That's not me. But I got the idea of what Bitcoin means, and it was like that's the solution for the problems we have. That's the solution I was looking for, and all the benefits on top. It's not like it's the solution for the money printing problem. But being decentralized, not being the government not being able to censor it, not being able to take it away from you, that it's so accessible for everybody and on all over the world. On top, it was like, that's it.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know, 17, 18, something like that, maybe.
Okay, not sure. Yeah, and were you already an Austrian economist? Was that already your worldview? I mean, I noticed the libertarian images. There's Ayn Rand, but that's a great image. It's in the form of Obama's, what's the word?
Hope.
Yeah, the Hope campaign thing. It's a great image.
It's with reason.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm a libertarian. Always was. Fighting for freedom, fighting for the individual. So yes, that's the point I'm coming from. And Bitcoin is, I think, fits right in.
How does that work? A libertarian politician? It almost sounds like an oxymoron, like they're kind of opposing.
Yeah, but if you want something to change, you have to do something about it. I was sitting on the sofa every evening watching the news and getting angry and shouting at the TV. It's like, you can't be so stupid. You can't make these mistakes. And I was so dissatisfied with our government. And it's easy to do that at home. But if you want to change something, you have to do something about it. And even if I'm saying, I want I want less government. I want less state. I want more individual freedom. You have to do something about it. So what can you do? You have to go into politics to change things.
Okay.
And there are the people who make the laws. They are the people who run the country. And if you get in the position to do that and to say, okay, you know what? We have 734 MPs in the German parliament. We are the second largest parliament in the world after China.
Really?
Just imagine the small country of Germany. And my vision is to say, okay, we have to get rid of at least half of you. Yeah, and we have to cut taxes and all these libertarian thoughts. That's something you have to bring into parliament to make it real. Just look at Milei in Argentina.
I was going to make the comparison just now. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's not a politician, but he realized you have to go into politics to change things. So that's what I thought. I have to do something. And when the party came up, and that was okay, I'm in. I didn't think about going in the Bundestag, to be honest. It's just like, be active, do something about it. That I will be elected into parliament, I had no idea. If you would have told me that 2013, I was like, yeah, you will be crazy. That's, but yeah, you have to do something.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, maybe we'll go there first. Yeah, to what extent are those ideas that you mentioned of reducing the number of seats or, lowering taxes and empowering individuals, to what extent are those ideas well received in parliament?
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. The problem is, and I saw it with my party as well, once you are elected into a parliament, it takes 1 or 2 years that you adapt. Suddenly you are an MP. Suddenly people look up to you. Yeah, you are someone. Yeah, and then you earn a lot of money. It's like 60,000 euros a month. If you didn't have a real job before getting elected into parliament, that's a lot of money.
Wow.
If you have a job, a CEO job somewhere, it's not enough money. But
say 16,000.
16,000 a month.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. So people get used to that. People get used to travel free through Germany because they're at peace and everything. And their only goal becomes, I will be reelected. I want to be reelected.
Yeah.
And what does it take to be reelected? You have to adapt. You have to vote suddenly for things you don't want, because your party says, no, we're going to say yes to this initiative. And so you have to go to say yes to that. Because if you say no too often, you will have a problem to be re-elected. You can't speak your mind anymore. You have really, you lose the ideas you had, why you were elected in the parliament in the first place.
Mm-hmm. So is this part of the reason why you ended up leaving the AfD originally?
Yeah, because, they took also the wrong turn, but I saw that that's not how we can change things. And after my 7 years now in the German parliament, I'm convinced that parties are not the solutions. It doesn't matter what party is elected. They all will be the same. They will do some kind of different things during their legislation. I've been sure if the AfD gets elected, they will have totally different migration politics like that we have now. But that's it. There's still the same politicians with minor changes. The system is broken. We have a broken political system. It's not about the country. It's not about your ideas. It's not bringing the people further, the country further. It's about how do I keep my power? How do I keep my money? It's not country first. It's myself first or the party first. That's the problem.
I'm seeing so many echoes of what you're explaining about Germany in the UK right now. I mean, we've just switched from Conservative to Labour, and yet it feels very similar. And even some of the policies have been brought out increasingly socialist, but then again, a lot of the Tory party policies felt more and more socialist, and higher taxes and more sort of grabbing of what people would normally take for granted. And we kind of, I guess, seeing this across the whole of Europe rather. It's really
I
interesting.
think it's a Western problem at the moment. I was at a conference in London, the ARC conference a year ago, and there were 72 nations represented there. And every time I talk to someone from a different Western country, we realize we have the same problems. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know how we landed up here, how we got in this situation that we all have the same problems, and somehow we don't realize or we don't know how to get out of it.
Yeah.
My idea, I mean, spoken about Millet, I think we need more people in politics who are not politicians, who don't want to be politicians but want to change something about their country.
Yeah.
That would be a solution. That's it's pretty hard to get in the system. I mean, Argentina was so bad off, such in a bad state that it was possible for him to be elected. We are not at that point still. We're still too well off to have someone like Millet come to Germany and be elected. But I think that's one of the solutions.
I'm a little bit concerned that there is a small power vacuum appearing in which a strong figure could appear in Europe, and I think we're seeing that in the UK as well. Like we had Nigel Farage getting a large portion of the vote, not like actual votes, numbers of votes, not the actual seats in Parliament. But there was 3 million people that voted for him. So clearly, people want change, and they're willing to vote for those strongman types or those disruptors, I guess you could call them.
Well, that's why they're voting for the AfD.
Okay, right.
It's not like they sympathize with the party or said everything they say is my opinion. They won't change.
Yep.
And that's I hear it often. It's China. I know that you have concerns. But what else can I vote for? What party can I vote for if I want change? That's the only party I can vote.
Interesting. Yeah, you spoil the vote or don't vote at all.
Yeah.
Or okay, but yet the AfD is painted as an extreme like far right party. It's kind of a dirty word, particularly in like social circles. Like if you were to announce that at a dinner party, it'd be like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Like what was your decision in leaving that party? What happened with it? And is it still a dirty word? Is that kind of thing?
No. Well, first of all, not all party members are the same. You have to differentiate. There are some really crazy guys in this party, but most of the people I met there are totally okay. They just want a different politics. And we have major problems in Germany. We have still the euro problem. We still the debts with all the countries in the European Union. We have this migration crisis, which seems to have no end. We don't have the money anymore. We don't have places to put the people anymore. And somehow all the older parties don't have a solution for that. Then we have the energy crisis. Well, leaving nuclear power and depending on wind and solar is not a good idea for Germany. We have the high taxes, so people don't know what to do anymore. And the AfD has some good answers. The problems I had with the AfD is it's not the far right and it's not the racist. And it's like they opened up to Russia, to China, to Iran.
Right.
Because they're making a big mistake. They're seeing the woke Western countries, woke America, and they say we have to put something against it. So we have to look to countries who keep their conservative values. And then they have a strong leader, Putin, who is the conservative, who keeps this land safe. And it's like, and China and Iran is traditional. They have their values. We don't have to agree with the values. I will repeat it. And that was the moment where I said, okay, I'm out.
Yeah.
I can't be in a party when I'm someone who's fighting for freedom, who supports Russia, China, and Iran. It's like crazy to me.
Yeah.
So
it's the antithesis of freedom.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, try to go to Moscow and demonstrate against Putin. You end up in jail. At least you can go here and demonstrate against the government you have without ending in jail. It's getting worse in Germany as well. You have the police knocking on your door now when you're posting something wrong with social media.
Oh, we've got that in the UK. Snap.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So it's getting worse in Germany as well, but it's not say Russia is in or China is in there.
No, of course. It doesn't feel that way either. Like when I went to China earlier this year, the cameras are everywhere to the extent that you just feel constantly surveilled. And when you feel surveilled, you act differently than when you aren't surveilled. It's just there somewhere, in your brain. And I mean, yesterday when I came off the plane, I was searched by policemen And they're like, they bag searched me, like patted me down and everything.
Really?
And I was like, what are you looking for? But like, even if I look suspicious, that they shouldn't like intimidate me in that way. And it was quite bullying. And I was really shocked at the time. I was like, what are you looking for? They're like, marijuana, cocaine. I was like, I don't have drugs on me. Like, can I help you speed up this process? Because I don't have anything. They're like, no, you have them. We will find them. I was like, whoa. And it was because the dog had kept hitting my thigh here, being like, this pocket. And I was like, there's nothing in this pocket. And it went on. And at this point, the queue of people on the plane was getting worse. And they were looking at me like, oh, you criminal. And I was getting more and more embarrassed and more like panicking about this. And I was like, what is the issue here? Like, you can't find any drugs. I don't have any drugs. The dog thinks it's in my pocket. There's nothing there. Why are you continuing? And, they're paid to do that. So they have to hit their targets, whatever it was. But I was thinking like, gosh, this is quite a welcome into Germany, which from previous visits to Berlin and to Germany, it's a liberal, welcoming country where you can protest, where you can do all this sort of thing. Yeah. So it was a sort of mini wake-up call that,
Yeah, that we're going in the wrong direction. I mean, we saw it during the COVID crisis we had, to what a government is capable of. Taking away your basic rights. I'm not vaccinated, so I wasn't allowed to go anywhere anymore. Not in a restaurant, not nowhere. And I didn't think it was possible in Germany for the government to take away your rights anymore, because we have basic rights. We have a constitution with basic rights, and they took it away, and the majority of the people was okay with it. That was something very concerning.
Yeah,
it wasn't only in Germany. I mean, it was all over the world where people, were discriminated just because they said, we don't buy this. Mm-hmm. And it's not okay what you're doing.
Yeah, no, it was a terrifying moment. And yet it was also the point when lots of people really started to understand Bitcoin.
Yeah, they had time. They had time to read and look into it. And I think it's also the time where a lot of people woke up, not only from the conservative or the libertarian side, but also from the left-wing side. There were I went to so many parties during our lockdown time in Berlin, to so many illegal parties, because I'm not having that. And there was the test center in front, and behind there was the illegal bar. And it was, I mean, you went there and you saw journalists, you saw politicians, you saw lawyers, you saw judges. I said, when the police is going to raid this gun, I'm really curious how the news will report on this, all these people. Because there were journalists there who were reporting how dangerous COVID is. And during the evening, they went to these illegal parties. And I talked to them. I said, why? We said, well, I'm losing my job if I don't do it. I just bought a house. I have 2 kids. If I start talking about COVID not being that dangerous, I'm losing my job. And I also met a lot of left-wing people at these parties who also woke up, who also said, okay, that's not okay what's happening here. And we're still in contact. That's something good. Mm-hmm. The only good thing which came out of COVID. People woke up and people were talking to each other, which they didn't do before. I wouldn't have talked to these total left-wing people, because our ways wouldn't have crossed.
Right.
And now we're still in contact, and we see the same problems. We have different solutions. Yeah. They want more government, and I want as less government as possible, but we still talk, and that's the important thing. Talk to each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm noticing that just being in the governmental buildings today is that there doesn't seem to be a huge amount of crossover. If you want to, you can be in your silo or your area and then not speak to, the revolutionaries or the lefties or the righties or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And was that the period then when you started to take Bitcoin into Parliament and into the political conversation, that 2021 period?
Yeah, well, we started to push Bitcoin in my party.
Right.
And we said, okay, let's do something. Let's write an initiative. Let's bring it in the parliament. Tell the people that we should look into Bitcoin, have a Bitcoin strategy for Germany. And I don't know how many meetings we had, Stefan, my assistant, and myself, with my colleagues, explaining to them what we want to do. No chance. We had no chance. The party said, no, we are not going to do it. Then after I left in 2022, said, okay, now it's a chance. Now I'm independent. Now I don't have to listen to anyone anymore, and I can do whatever I want to do. Let's push things forward which are really dear to my heart, which are important for myself and my team members. And I mean, you saw the office. It's like Stefan, the one who's really also behind Bitcoin in Bundestag, is a Bitcoin maximalist. So you see it in the office.
Oh yeah, you feel it.
It was a no-brainer to do it.
Okay, awesome. So I guess that started, the Bitcoin in Bundestag has been going all this year, right? It started in February. And would you be able to explain what this scheme is trying to achieve, and also for people to understand? Because it is mad. You're having people like famous Bitcoiners, whether it's, here we go. We have, Jimmy Song, for example, came in on the 2nd of June, 2024, and he came and delivered a speech at the Bundestag, the German parliament. For me, this blows my mind, because I think, okay, what would it be like if Jimmy Song gave a talk in Westminster in the UK? I can't see it happening, and yet it is happening here in Germany. So you clearly pulled some strings, or was it easy? Maybe it was really easy. Like, how did you even go about achieving this kind of initiative?
Well, Jimmy was just here for a visit. He didn't have a speech. It was just here for a visit.
Oh, well, then Roman, for example, Roman
we had Damson we have now this evening. Well, it wasn't easy because of my former party, because everyone we talked to in the Bitcoin space in Germany was like, oh, she was in the AfD.
Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, maybe this is going to hurt me if I work together with her. So it took us, I think, half a year to get to know the people, to build up trust that I'm not a Nazi.
Right, yeah.
I'm not a crazy radical right-winger. But then they realized, okay, I'm serious about it. And I realized, talking to my colleagues in the Bundestag, that they have no idea what Bitcoin is. Especially the Green colleagues from the Green Party, it's like, yeah, it's a climate killer. We don't want Bitcoin. It kills the climate. That's too much energy. We don't want that. Also, the conservative had no idea. It's like the Hamas uses Bitcoin. It's no, they don't actually. But these are the prejudices they had.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, we have to do something about it. Why not? The problem is always you're not informed, you're not educated about things, so you don't know how to vote, you don't know what it is about. And politicians have so many things on their table, so many laws they have to read and to decide on. You can't expect them to know everything, especially about something like Bitcoin, which is still not mainstream.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, well, let's do something about it. Let's explain to them what Bitcoin is. Let's educate them. Not doing it myself, because as I told you, I get the idea, but I'm not an expert in running things. So I said, let's invite the experts to the Bundestag. So we created a website, we have a newsletter, and then we talked to all these German Bitcoiners. Said, like, do some events in the German Bundestag, invite the MPs, invite their assistants. Most of the time, the assistants are more important than the MPs. Without Stefan, I don't know if I would have went that far with Bitcoin. But because he kept pushing, I said, okay, let's do it. So the assistants are more important. They are invited. And of course, the Bitcoiners here in Berlin are invited.
Yeah.
And we had regular events, at least one a month, sometimes two a month, where experts came to us. And we had from 30 to 300 people sitting there listening to them. And we had talks about Bitcoin mining, Bitcoin and energy. We had talks about how Bitcoin helps the deep-end people in third world countries, what Bitcoin means for personal freedom. So we touched on different topics during these events. And everybody who wanted to listen to us had the opportunity to learn something about Bitcoin. And I can say we had colleagues from every party in the Bundestag, represented in the Bundestag.
Every party?
Every party. Sometimes they just came once, like the colleagues from the left. But we had every party there, and there are colleagues who come to every event and listen to them. We had assistants working in the Ministry of Finance. We had assistants working in the Ministry of Economy who were there and who all listened. And the good thing is, someone like Roman Reyel, the block trainer, he was invited by the CDU for another event to explain to them Bitcoin is about.
Just the CDU?
Just.
So that's the Christian party, right? Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So that was the goal. To say, okay, you don't have to come to me. You don't have to listen to me, because it's Joanna. She's former AfD. It's blah. I'm not sure if I should go to the event. Also, if my party is against Bitcoin, showing up at these kinds of events, it's can be dangerous to your career. So maybe you don't show up. But we put every event we have, we record it, we put it on YouTube so that everybody can watch it back and educate themselves. So the next time, this is my hope, that we have a small orange block in every party represented in the German Bundestag, that the next time they're talking about Bitcoin, these people raise their hands and say, we know what we talk about.
Yeah.
Let us explain why your idea of using Bitcoin impossible in Germany anymore isn't a good idea.
Yep.
Because that's what the CDU planned in last year. And in December, I think they plan to make it illegal to change Bitcoin to euro.
So that's the way to stop its growth, the fastest way.
Yeah. So, and if you have some orange pills party members there who raise their hand and said, well, that's a bad idea. That's what I want to achieve.
And even if they're not orange pilled, just the fact that they are informed and they've had that education to be able to put their hands up and ask it can just be a good-natured question,
Yeah.
When someone, you mentioned earlier before we came on camera that there were some experts who came to give talks at the Bundestag, and they were, saying stuff like Bitcoin is used exclusively by criminals and all sorts of other sort of spurious things.
They have some hearings here in the Bundestag where every party can invite experts.
That's it, yeah.
And of course, people or parties who don't like Bitcoin, they invite experts who say the same thing. And then we have the hearing where all the professors are sitting there and say, whoa, that's dangerous. And that was really a wake-up call for us. It's like, wow, this is going in the wrong direction. We have to do something about it.
Yeah. And I know we've talked about it a lot already, but I just want to put a sort of a bow in that AFD reputational thing. Surely the fact that you left the AFD and went independent was reason for people to then start speaking to you again and for you to be able to build bridges with other parties. Has that been the case, or are you still tarnished by being?
I'm still a little bit tarnished. It's like I said to you before, you don't get a job easily after you've been a member of the AFD.
A job just generally?
Generally. There are companies who have in their thing, you're not going to invite people with an AFD in your CV to have to, now I'm missing the word, when you go to a
job interview?
Yeah, to a job interview, exactly.
Is that not just discrimination, and that should be?
Of course.
But how is that legal? Is that like you?
Well, it's not official.
Oh, I see. Sorry.
Not official.
Stupid. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's what they're doing. So I had a colleague who wasn't re-elected the last time, and I don't think he has a job yet. So it's really crazy. And
it is a political party that has some seats in the Bundestag. It did really well in the recent Eastern German elections.
It did very well. In one of the states, it was the most elected party.
Yeah, the
winner of the vote. So, but it's crazy to me. If you don't want the AfD to succeed, you want people to leave. And if when people leave, you're still going after them. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what's happening in Germany.
Okay.
But it's not that bad because people know me and they know my speeches I had in the Bundestag, and they always knew that I was really fighting for freedom, that I was fighting for a certain cause, and they didn't view me as the typical AfD member.
Right.
I didn't talk about migration or something like that. My topic was the digitalization.
Interesting.
So it wasn't that bad for me, and it took some time, but it's not okay. But it's better than it was before.
Yeah. No, it's like a badge, right? It's really hard to separate yourself from that. Okay, so let's go back to Bitcoin again, because one of the key components of the video I'm doing, it's a little bit clickbaity, I do admit, but Germany sold 50,000, or Saxony, sold 50,000 Bitcoin, 2.5 billion or something. Since that sale, this June or July, when they finished emptying the wallet, Bitcoin has gone up about 17 or 20%, maybe 25% if we're recording in a few weeks' time, who knows? Talk me through this whole experience. And as I understand it, the reason why Saxony had to sell that Bitcoin is because those were seized goods from the Movie 2K website. I can't remember the name of the website, the website they were seized from. And that's just the legislation. But let's talk about that first before we talk about how things could have been. So am I right in phrasing it that, Saxony sold these 50,000 Bitcoin because it was stolen or seized goods? Is that right?
Correctly. And there is a law in Germany that you have to sell these goods pretty fast if there is a danger that they lose value fast. So if you seize now a car you have to sell it fast because in 5 years it's not worth that much anymore. That's the reason behind the law.
Right.
They seized the Bitcoin in January, and they started selling that in summer. So there was enough time for politicians to change the law and to take Bitcoin out of it. Say, okay, let's think about it. And they didn't even consider changing it. They didn't do anything. It's like, okay, we have it, we're going to sell it. And the whole world was like, what are they doing? And they still went on with it. And I wrote a letter to the chancellor, to our finance minister, and to the minister of Saxony, and told them, stop it. Please stop it. You have no idea what you're doing. I asked them to put together a Bitcoin strategy instead. Keep the Bitcoin, change the law, keep the Bitcoin, make a Bitcoin strategy. I didn't even get an answer from them. And they really sold it. Some of them, not even OTC, they just sold it. It's like,
wow.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even at a good price.
It wasn't a good price. And it was, as far as I know, after a holiday in the United States as well. So it was the bad timing as well. But yeah, now 50,000 Bitcoin are gone.
There's never a good time to sell Bitcoin, is there?
Yeah.
I mean, to what extent, what we're talking about here is a missed opportunity, right? So to what extent does that missed opportunity reflect the German sort of approach to Bitcoin, generally speaking?
Well, I mean, look at the United States now. Bitcoin is a topic during the elections now. They're talking about keeping Bitcoin as a strategic reserve. And that's what I thought what we can do with this 50,000 Bitcoin, keep it as a strategic reserve. And looking at the situation Germany is in, having 50,000 Bitcoin now, that's a huge amount of Bitcoin. I mean, when I would be chancellor, I would say, okay, let's buy 210,000 Bitcoin. I think that would be a good number to have a good strategic reserve in Germany. But 50,000 would be a beginning. And not having that now and having the euro lying there, they can't use the euros until the case is closed. So the inflation the inflation makes it less worth with every year.
Oh gosh.
So well, that's it. What can I say?
So that 2.6 billion euros, reportedly that's the figure, that is going to be in the Saxony coffers or in the Saxony bank accounts in what, 6 months, a year's time?
It depends on how many years it needs to close the case.
Right.
So if it's 2, 3, 4, 5 years, the money's sitting there.
No.
Yeah.
And Saxony, as I understand it, it's not one of the richer states.
It's a state in Eastern Germany. It's not well off.
Okay.
But I think that's also one of the reasons they sold it. So they should get the money or we can make the schools and invest it into infrastructure and something like that.
And I like the idealism behind the sale. The idea we can inject this money into the state. The sad thing.
Yeah, but they were always already fighting about where can we put the money to. It's not like even they had a plan, it's a strategy, that they were even fighting about what. And the fight will continue. As soon as it's clear, okay, you have the money now, you can imagine what's going on there. Where do we put it?
Gosh, okay. Well, so you mentioned one of the key things that Germany should do moving forward with Bitcoin, notably buying 210,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Still slightly less than MicroStrategy, isn't it? Because MicroStrategy is now at 200 and something thousand, because that's 0.01%. Oh god, is it 0.1%? It's 0.1% of the supply. Sorry, if I get that wrong on camera, everyone's going to be like, "Joe, you moron! What are you doing?" So what else do you propose that Germany could do or should do with a Bitcoin moving forward?
Well, what we suggested is to also look into it to make it a legal tender. Mm-hmm. I'm a very advocate for having a currency championship. How do you say that? A currency lab. See, competition, a currency competition.
Oh, okay.
So that would be something that was.
What do you mean by that? Germany should have a currency competition?
Well, if you have Bitcoin and you have the euro and you have different kind of payments you can choose from, mm-hmm. It's always better than when you're depending on the euro.
Right. But you're still going to have to deal with those Bitcoiners who don't spend
Of course. Well, yeah, but there are also Bitcoiners who spend at least a little bit. I mean, you see it at the conferences where they pay for it. And there are some websites where I bought my posters and everything. They only it's a Bitcoin. And I think if we push it forward, and if you want to have mass adoption, you have to spend a little bit.
So you have spent and you have used Bitcoin as peer-to-peer cash, as money?
Yeah. I mean, of course, you have your amount you hold, you don't sell. But I think you always should have something, some sats in your wallet that you can spend.
I totally agree. I mean, I actually went to a few of the places that accept Bitcoin this morning on BTC Mac.
Yeah.
And I went to this place called Atheist Shoes. Like it's such a Berlin shop. It's amazing. It's like drop shoes that are like leather and suede and stuff. And there's a big Bitcoin sticker on the door. And I was like, great, these guys are going to be interesting people to talk to. I walked in and said, hi, looking to buy some shoes with Bitcoin. And they're like, oh, no, we don't do that anymore.
What?
And I was like, why? What's changed? And they're like, oh, no one was spending it. So the last person that came in asking about Bitcoin, it was February this year. We get 1 or 2 people a year. We can't get people to spend it. And I was like, oh, but I can send it to your wallet, right? 'Cause I like the shoes. I was like, can I buy them with Bitcoin? It's like, no, because,
that's sad.
Yeah.
That's sad. We just had a restaurant who we orange pilled and they now accept the Bitcoin here.
Is that the one that does the sort of eco-friendly meals?
No, it's an Italian restaurant.
Oh, okay, cool.
We went to every time.
Oh, nice, yeah.
So, yeah, but I mean, I understand it. If you think Bitcoin's going up like crazy that you don't want to spend it. But still, if you want people to use it, if you want new people to realize there's something I should look into, you have to do something. You have to engage with the people. And what I do, and I think every Bitcoiner does, I mean, just install them a wallet and see how easy it is. And then there is a need to spend. Just look at how easy it is to buy ice cream or to buy whatever, just scanning the QR code. That's how you get people involved. So I think it's important to spend not much, but a little bit of your Bitcoin.
I wholeheartedly agree and I advocate for it as well. But I still get those people saying, oh, you're going to regret buying that ice cream in 10 years. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, we're part of the change.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, maybe I regret when you look at your wallet that you how much worth it is now. But there's the idea behind it is bigger than the amounts on your wallet. So if you can push the adoption of Bitcoin further by spending it and by showing people how easy it is, you should do it. It's not just about your money and your wallet.
So yeah, you mentioned that 210,000 Bitcoin that Germany should start off with buying, making Bitcoin as legal tender. I guess the best way to do that is just reduce all capital gains on it. Although right now Germany has the 1-year HODL sort of capital gains thing, which is quite nice. Anyway,
yeah. I'm fingers crossed that it stays that way. I really fear that it will change because Germany is in need of money.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that might change with the new legislation. And now looking at Italy, they raised it, I think, to 42%.
Yeah, it was high.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Fingers crossed that it stays that way.
Okay. And then what else would you propose for Bitcoin? Like, I mean, the thing that comes top of mind for me is that, Germany recently didn't ban, but, they've got rid of nuclear energy in any meaningful way moving forward. What can Bitcoin mining do in Germany?
I mean, that's the point. I don't understand why the Green Party is so against it. Because when you look into Bitcoin mining, how it can benefit or how our energy change what we are doing now, going from nuclear to solar and to wind energy. We still have coal, but they want to get rid of coal in a couple of years. So then we are totally dependent on wind and solar. The sun doesn't shine in Germany that often. And sometimes, we have storms and everything. So sometimes we don't have enough energy. Then we have to buy energy from other countries, pay millions of euros to do that. And other times when we have these autumn storms, we have way too much energy. Then we have to pay millions to other countries that they take our electricity to us because to stabilize our grid. Having Bitcoin mining, when you have too much energy, too much wind, when the miners start working, when you have too much energy and they use the excess energy, and they cut off again when we don't have enough energy. That's a no-brainer for me. You don't have to pay other countries to take the energy away from us, and you make money from it. I don't know why they're not doing it. There are countries who do it already. And I think Germany is one of the prime examples where Bitcoin could really work. Bitcoin mining could really work. So yeah, that's what we propose to say, okay, look into it, if we can include it in our energy policy or not. But it's what we have in our events it's like we talked a lot about Bitcoin mining, and there was one guy who was a lot of windmills. And he just found his way into Bitcoin mining, and he was installing Bitcoin miners in his windmill. He wasn't connected into the Bitcoin community. He wasn't a part of it.
Yeah, amazing.
And then he came to one of our events in the Bundestag, and we said, "Oh, we can help you. We can set you up with whole Bitcoin community. Look into it." So people are getting it. The government is not getting it, but people are getting it.
And that's the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
And where is this guy? I must interview him.
Oh, we have to look, and we maybe.
Okay, this is a documentary in the making. It's just all the ingredients. Okay. So to what extent are these ideas well received by the German? I mean, maybe I should reframe that. What are the main challenges or counter arguments you get in the Bundestag or in the political circles against Bitcoin?
It's still the missing education, the missing information. We are doing our best to change that, but it's still, if you talk to the people, they're not convinced that Bitcoin mining can be really used in this kind of way.
Okay.
They still think that Bitcoin uses too much energy, and we don't have enough energy in Germany, so why should we do that?
No, I see the logic there.
Yeah.
I can see why you'd assume that way.
Exactly, and energy is expensive here, so why should you? They still are not informed enough, and that's something which has to change. And so we're doing our best, but I'm just one person in the Bundestag was trying to change that. That's not enough. So maybe that's my goal for the next year, because I will be out of the Bundestag in September next year, and I don't want this initiative to end. So I'm trying to speak to colleagues from other parties who can take over, and that's I think politics is a marathon, not a sprint. So it takes a lot of time to get people to understand what Bitcoin really is. And my hope is really, as bad as it sounds, we have to look to the United States. If Trump gets elected...
It does sound bad, that, doesn't it?
So it's really bad. It's always the case with Germany. We're always behind everything. We're not the first one doing something. I mean, made in Germany, that was something years ago. Germany was the land of inventions. Everything changed. We are now scared to open up to new technologies, to new ideas. It's like, oh, it's risky. Oh, it's dangerous. Can we regulate it? Can we ban it? How can we protect ourselves from that? So we're always behind. Well, it's always the US going forward. We have the payment system, Visa, PayPal, MasterCard, all US. We have the platforms, all US. Nothing from Europe, nothing from Germany. And I think it will be the same with Bitcoin. I think if Donald Trump is elected and he keeps his promises and he pushes Bitcoin, I mean, I don't think he gets Bitcoin issuing his shitcoin now. Oh, it's like a little bit sad. But I know that he has Bitcoiners in his team.
Yeah.
And
he's being advised by some of the best Bitcoiners in the US,
Exactly. And he will have these Bitcoiners in his team when he's elected. So my hope is that he keeps his promises, and he will really say, okay, well, let's look into Bitcoin, let's make it a strategic reserve, whatever. And I think then the European countries will follow. Germany won't follow that soon because it's Trump.
Yeah.
And Germany hates Trump. The Germans hate Trump. It's like...
Europeans hate Trump, I think.
Yeah, so it's like Austrian, these crazy guys now with Bitcoin. Let's wait and see. But if he's serious and he pushes it forward, I think we will follow. And it's sad to say that, but I bet it will take a lot of time. But we always follow the United States. And even if they're doing good things or bad things, we always follow.
I guess it's kind of harking back to what you were saying earlier about how COVID was this time when you were able to build bridges and you were able to talk about things that united people. And I guess what with, Trump is obviously a very divisive figure.
Yeah.
But then if in Europe, it means that we end up following the Bitcoin strategy, then maybe it's not the absolute worst thing in the world.
Yeah. I mean, it amazes me, or it astounds me that the Americans only can come up with Harris and Trump.
Yeah.
It's such a great country. I love the United States, and there every year. I really love it. But these two candidates, are you serious?
Yeah, no, I mean, I would say something, but the UK can't talk either because, it's the best that we've got.
Look at Germany. Look at our German government. 0 to 3% want this government to continue. Everybody hates this government. It's like, but like we said, it's the same in every Western country.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm very, very conscious of your time, so I'll be quicker now. One thing I wanted to address is, what is the missing ingredient to a successful sort of Bitcoin strategy or more Bitcoin grassroots movements in Germany? What is that? If you had like a magic wand and you could just be like, we need more of this.
Education. It's always education. I mean, we have a huge Bitcoin community in Germany. If you look at the nodes you have worldwide, you have the States and then you have Germany.
Yeah.
You have a really big community here. So
that's fancy guys, right? There seems to be a meetup in every.
We have a lot of meetups, and we have a lot of people who get involved. We have a lot of companies who are getting involved. Now we created the Federal Association, Bitcoin Association in the Bundestag 3 or 4 weeks ago, where a lot of companies joined to advocate for Bitcoin now. So the people are there. We just need the decision makers to chime in now. And that's always education. And for me, education starts at school. So if you want the next generation to be more open and more intelligent than our generation now is, we have to start in school. We have to explain to them what economy is, what the money system is. Start in school and get the young people educated, and they will be much more open-minded than we are.
Yeah, financial literacy, right? It's just so important.
Missing I don't know how it is in the UK, but in Germany you hardly get this education.
Same. Yeah, it really is. But then, for like the framing of the YouTube documentary I wanted to do was that Germany has hyperinflation in living memory. It also has a very cash-based transactional society. A lot of 50-something% of financial transactions at a point of sale device are with cash, and it also has it's not like the biggest tech country, but it's also a very well educated country. So it does have a lot of the right ingredients for there to be more Bitcoin in Germany. Is that the right framing for this documentary, or is there something you'd add or something you'd change? What do you think?
Well, it has the right ingredients, but the meal it's cooking out of, it's not that positive. As I said, the Germans are pretty scared of everything. It's like you have the term German Angst.
Right, yeah.
And that's it. They are afraid of everything. They are not open-minded. And you see it not only with Bitcoin, you see it with artificial intelligence as well.
Okay.
The regulation we have in the European Union is crazy. There are companies telling us we are leaving the country if you're doing this to us. There won't be any entrepreneurs opening here AI companies anymore. And they still regulate it like that.
It's just like the nuclear power thing, right? It's also been regulated out of existence.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And it's not Bitcoin specific. It's broader than that.
Gosh, okay. So what's next for you? Last question. What's next for you? What are you going to be doing in September 2025?
I have no idea, to be honest.
Really?
It's like we'll see. It's something will come up. I'm pretty sure about it. I'm always an optimistic person. I'm used to leaving my jobs when they didn't make fun anymore. I used to quit my jobs like that. And I said, okay, I'm out of here. It's like, and there always was something else to do. And I never imagined being a member of the German parliament.
Mm-hmm.
So I will see what happens in September.
Do you think it will still have Bitcoin in it in some way? Or
I'm sure about it. I mean, that's really a topic which is important to me. Okay. Just because I see the decline of freedom and the governments getting more and more regime-like. It's not like we have democracy anymore. It's like the laws they pass, like the DSA they passed now regarding the social media, the censorship they do. I mean, we already see it in Germany. We already have on X. We have already tweets which are censored only in Germany. So you see all these problems, and you see the governments trying to take away your freedom more and more and more. And one tool we have to fight against that is Bitcoin. And we see the dangers of the CBDCs, which are coming now. 2028, the ECB plans to issue the digital euro. And the only way to fight this digital euro is Bitcoin. If you don't want total surveillance, the government knowing everything where you spend your money on, you have to use Bitcoin. You can't use the digital euro.
I'm personally not scared about some CBDC because most governmental tools, they're so bad. You know what I mean? Like, remember COVID passports and like COVID vaccination? It was all rubbish. Like, none of it worked, and it was.
Yeah, maybe you're right. But if they have the chance to control the people, maybe they put a little bit more effort in it.
Yeah.
And I saw it in Germany with the vaccination. When you got something when you got vaccinated, even if it was just something to eat or a little gift, people went there for nothing and got vaccinated. So if they tell you, well, we issue you the digital euro and we give you 500 euros on your account, you have to spend it as a digital euro, or you get 20% off if you buy a car when you use digital euro. Imagine how many people will use it.
Yeah, and if they've got the money printer, they can do that. So, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a danger people should be aware of.
No, it's true. I'm being too frivolous about it, but yeah, it's scary tech.
Look at China. Yeah, what they're like set with all the surveillance cameras. That's the way.
Yeah, yeah.
To have Chinese something here.
Okay. Well, listen, we're taking up an hour of your time, and I know that you've got to do another vote in 20 minutes. I saw the alarms going off in the corridor. It's very cool. Will you be taking a tunnel to do your vote?
I will.
Okay, fantastic. Well, is there anything else you'd like to say before I wrap up this interview?
It's just what I always say. If you want things to change, get active. Do something about it. Don't just talk about things which should change. Do the change yourself. Mm-hmm. Get out of your sofa, get out of your house and do something about it. And don't think that politics is not important. Politicians can make your life hell. So always remember, politicians want to get reelected. And if you tell them you get my vote, but I have something which is important to me, look into it. Tell me what you think about, then you get my vote. Then they realize, okay, I have to look into it. So when you do that with Bitcoin, and I have a lot of Bitcoiners which do that now in Germany, they make appointments with their MPs. They walk into their offices and said, what's your stance about Bitcoin? What do you think about Bitcoin? And when they say, I have no idea what you're talking about, they say, I'll come back in 4 weeks. We can talk later. And then there's a certain pressure to look into Bitcoin and to maybe change your view on Bitcoin if you want to get reelected. So do something. Go out, speak to your politicians is important.
Yeah, lovely message to finish on. Thank you so much, Joanna. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. I'm really looking forward to this evening as well. And thank you so much for welcoming me into your Bitcoin-themed office.
Great.
For more information about Bitcoin, please check out Plan D Network and do go to Coin Corner for all things Bitcoin Wallet and Bitcoin Lightning related. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed it. And I'd love to know what you think in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this, then I'm sure you'll enjoy this Bitcoin story from the ground, from somewhere in the world. Check it out. I hope to see you on one soon.